Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, known as the Nutrition Detective around these here YouTube parts. And today we are going to go over, one of the topics that I cover quite a bit. It may get more attention from me than deserved, but it's really something that it affects a lot of people out there who get into nutrition and then find these very contrarian ideas on the internet, and they get into the Ray Peat diet approach or the peating idea, which is simply terrible. I have another video on this channel all about the disasters of this diet. And since we were going into the Infertility Psyop series, I decided to cover this. Now, I wanted to say one thing. If you see me and I look a little pink today, I am actually niacin flushing right now. I kind of forgot that I was doing the live stream, and I just decided I had it. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I'm red. This is not the redness of a sick liver. This is the redness of the niacin flush. So I just wanted to say that. It'll fade as you watch this episode. So let's get into what I'm going to hit on today in terms of this. So you can look at this in terms of just general dietary principles, or you can look at it as the reality of the people who do peating. Besides the fact that they're unemployed at a higher rate than the normal population based on a survey on Twitter of 1,500 of them, they are generally infertile. They have gigantic problems with fertility. I'm going to head into some of the most basic concepts and principles of their dietary approach. And we're going to see that they all lead to infertility. One of the biggest couples in the Peat-inspired nutrition has been infertile for a very long time. And yet they're experts in this nutrition advice, and they have a basic health problem. Fertility is health. Health is fertility. Therefore, infertility is poor health, and poor health leads to infertility. So if you're on a diet that makes people infertile, it's a bad health diet. That's just the way it is. So again, like I said, I'm going to hit on the basic principles. I'm not going to hit on everything. Now, one of the things we'll hit on first. Peters love their carrot salad, and Peters love their vitamin A. In the first episode of the Infertility Psyop, I went over vitamin A and how that ruins health and how that ruins fertility. That's very obvious. They also do tend to like copper a lot. And also in that first Infertility Psyop video, I went over copper. Ray Peat was a fan of methylene blue, which I went over in the second episode of the Infertility Psyop series. Are you seeing a pattern yet? So now let me get into the first concept or principle of Ray Peat's dietary approaches. Here we go, Joe. We're on here now. Yep. Sugar. Peters are big fans of sugar, and some people like to joke that people who want to do the Peat diet just want to eat like children for the rest of their lives, which is kind of true. They're like drinking milk and eating sugar and doing all this stuff. Let's look at these papers. So what does sugar do to fertility? I mean, folks, this would be like I'm not even going to go over, well, I'll save that for the next one, but various things I'm not going to go over because we understand that they're not good for fertility. Does anybody out there actually think that eating more sugar, consuming a high percentage of your diet as sugar, is going to be good for fertility? I hope not. So let's just hit on these. Consumption of sugar-sweetened or artificially sweetened beverages and semen quality in young men, a cross-sectional study. This one mainly just hits on artificial sweeteners, which is not necessarily a peaty thing. So they're already laying it out at the start. Existing literature suggests that frequent consumption of sugar-sweetened drinks may be associated with lower semen quality. So there's already multiple papers associating this. Studies performed in mice suggest a dose-response relationship between intake of saccharin or aspartame, two artificial sweeteners, and sperm and testes function. First of all, folks, if you're here and you haven't figured out that artificial sweeteners are bad for you yet, you might not be ready for this work. Hopefully you at least understand that artificial sweeteners should be avoided at all costs. It's kind of like also like if you don't understand yet to avoid microwaving foods, Like, you may not be ready for the rest of this. Okay. The biggest thing I wanted to hit on this, the proportion of morphologically normal sperm was 11% lower for moderate consumption of artificially sweetened beverages relative to infrequent. Okay, so artificially sweetened drinks are bad for your sperm. That's not necessarily a peaty thing. But let's go into this next one. Sugar consumption is negatively associated with semen quality. Semen obviously being, ejaculate. That's kind of important to pregnancies. We found a negative association between higher consumption of dietary sugar in all 2 dietary subcategories and sperm concentration. So that means more sugar, less sperm. Significant sperm concentration decrements of 18% and 23% were associated with soft drink median consumption of 0.2 drinks a day. Significant sperm concentration decrements of 15% and 17% were associated with median sugar products. I'm guessing sugar. Where's Sugar Prod? There it is. Sugar to food, total added sugar to food products. So less sperm with median total sugar added to products consumption of 25 teaspoons of added sugar a day. That's 8 tablespoons about. And I just want you to understand, when we're talking about Peters, they're talking about not only drinking milk, which has sugar in it, right? Milk contains sugar. That's why it's sweet. That's why a lot of people like it. But they're actually talking about adding sugar to milk and adding sugar to like almost everything they drink. Some of them are doing this. Some of them are saying like just eat fruit, but Peters go bonkers about this stuff. They think more is better. In conclusion, our study findings demonstrate that sugar consumption is negatively associated with sperm concentration. More sugar, less sperm. Okay. So we got artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are just generally bad for everything. We got more sugar, less sperm. Let's do this. Association between intake of soft drinks and testicular function in young men. Now, people will say, oh, it's high fructose corn syrup, and is high fructose corn syrup worse than regular sugar? Yes, but the thing you must understand, Peters love fructose. They advocate for fructose. I was thinking of doing a quick search for fructose consumption and sperm. I might do that. Study question: is the intake of sugar-sweetened beverages or artificially sweetened beverages associated with testicular function in young men? Remember, as we went over in the other infertility psyop videos, the jab was mainly aimed at women. The newer infertility psyops are mainly aimed at men. So this is why we're going to look a lot. So ladies, these things are bad for you too. But men, it's going to show up in their sperm more because they don't go digging around in women's, ovaries to look at this stuff. So sperm, being that it comes out of the body, is much easier to monitor. Okay. So, summary of the answer of the study. Among young men unaware of their semen quality and reproductive hormone levels, intake of sugar-sweetened beverages was associated with lower sperm concentration, lower total sperm count, and a lower ratio of serum inhibin B to FSH. And I believe they basically say that. So this is all the things we just mentioned. They are consistent with a direct suppressive effect of sugar-sweetened beverage intake on testicular function among otherwise healthy men. So you have a lot of young guys doing peating, and they're not very healthy and potentially affecting fertility. So, of course, my daughter is calling me on the phone, even though I just told her this morning that I've got a live stream. Like, seriously, it's Tuesday. Let me do this. Fructose consumption, sperm. Let's just see. PubMed. Let's see if they specifically did fructose. I'm going to do this quick because we're here and I don't want to take too much time on this. Okay. No, is this what we want? Yeah, that's not what we want. Oops, sorry, I closed this share. Wait. There we go. Let me fix the share. Joe, it's not the right one yet. Okay, here we go. High fructose diet during puberty alters the sperm parameters, testosterone concentration, and histopathology of testes and epididymis in adult Wistar rats. Do you think it did something good? Let's see. Where do we want to start? Where do we begin with all the damage? Fructose induced an increase in abnormal seminiferous tubules with epithelial vacuoles, degeneration in immature cells in the lumen. Moreover, FR30 rats showed altered spermatogenesis and daily sperm production, as well as increased serum testosterone concentrations. Well, that's going to end. This is where, okay, you guys, things that happen, this is the duration paradox. You can see short-term effects that fade over time. Like when people say nicotine or tobacco raises testosterone, when you actually look at that study, all those guys had low testosterone. But the tobacco guys were a little higher than the normal. Like they're all terrible in testosterone. It was a joke of a study. So after discontinuing high fructose consumption, daily sperm production and sperm number decreased significantly. We observed tissue remodeling the epididymis with reduction in stromal and epithelial compartments that might have influenced sperm motility. So fructose by itself is not good for sperm. It's actually changing the reproductive tract, okay? Don't do that. No. Nobody, I mean, just know that the insanity of the Ray Peat diet, when they start saying sugar is good for you, that's where you should just kind of leave. So, oh, sorry, Joe. Let me give you that link. Since I just found it live. Okay, there's that one. Here we go. So first, now we're going to go into one of the things that Peters love to advocate is lots of orange juice, right? Which is super sweet. It's got super high sugar in it. And it's got polyphenols, which slow ALDH. We talk about that all the time here. And well, I mean, the sugar in it, sugar turns into, if you watch my glucose and dextrose episode, sugar can turn into at least 4 different aldehydes. Okay. So sugar can break down into 4 different aldehydes. We've got the polyphenols. We've got vitamin C in it. So this paper, I'm not going to scroll all the way down it, but influence of food commodities on hangover based on alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase activities. And and orange juice is going to be high in vitamin C. So what I'm heading into here, folks, is I'm going to show you, this is going to kind of freak some of you out. Citrus is not good for fertility in general. Okay. The people telling you to like blend up an entire lemon, like peel and all, that's really bad. They're messing you up. Don't eat the peel. Don't eat the lemon oil. Don't eat the peel. And I'm going to go over how this is bad. But anyway, ascorbic acid. I have a whole episode on ascorbic acid and vitamin C. We can use it to slow down detox because it is so strong in its shutting down ADH and ALDH activities. Okay. So this paper, you can go look at it if you want. There's all sorts of things in it. Don't take mega dose vitamin C unless you want to shut down your detox. And remember, in the other Infertility Psyop episodes, I showed that if you inhibit ALDH, that's actually the mechanism of the male contraceptive pill. So we don't want to try to do this. And in this paper, ascorbic acid was one of the best inhibitors of ALDH. So now let's get into some other stuff that's going to be in citrus first. So these are common dietary flavonoids. Now what this means is these are what they call bioflavonoids. They try to sell you as being good for you. These are plant antioxidants. They are polyphenols. Phenol is bad for you. Polyphenols are not good for you. Bioflavonoids are polyphenols. Phytoestrogens are polyphenols. Tannins are polyphenols. Okay, just flavonoids like they're saying here. They just didn't put bioflavonoid in it. So let's just look here. Hesperitin or hesperidin with a D, naringin, these are things that are in citrus. As in, where do they get them? Citrus and fruit juice. Citrus, fruit, and juices. Oranges, grapefruits, lemons. Okay, so now we're going to go into that. Oh, sorry, did I not show this one? Here we are. Sorry, Joe. This is just some bioflavonoids. right here. Hesperidin, naringin, and areodictyol. You don't hear about that one much, but where does it come from? Citrus. Okay. Okay. So are there a lot of studies on oranges themselves? No. But we're going to go with the citrus family because they're similar enough, and you'll see that. Effect of the juice of lime, Citrus aurantifolia, on estrus cycle and ovulation of Sprague dolly rats. Did it do something good? There was an irregular pattern in all phases of the estrus cycle of 100% of the rats given undiluted lime juice, and in 80% of those given 50% diluted lime juice. There was a significant reduction in the number of ova, that's eggs, shed in rats, administered undiluted lime juice in comparison with the control animals. Ovulation was partially blocked, as shown by the reduced number of ova observed in the oviducts from the rats given undiluted lime juice in comparison with the control rats. Conclusion: in rats, lime juice causes irregularity of the estrus cycle, partially blocks ovulation, and may possibly compromise fertility. So we're going to see patterns here with the with the citrus fruit. Am I the right one? No, not that one. Hold on. There we are. Okay. So, moving on. One of the patterns that I figured out and then Kelsey helped to add to is, so when you guys are looking for things that are detox inhibitors, there's a very important pattern that we have linked. These are tendencies to go together. If it's a P-glycoprotein inhibitor, which is a cell detox, it's usually also an ALDH inhibitor, an aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibitor, which is bad too. So P-glycoprotein, the cell's not detoxing. ALDH, it's not detoxing aldehydes. That means it's typically also a cytochrome P450 inhibitor, which is what this is. These things all tend to go together. You're going to see a pattern here. And then this is the part that is harder to link direct. You can't find direct stuff in the literature for it, but slowing down ALDH or P-glycoprotein or cytochrome P450, especially 3A4, will generally slow down your bile production, which means that the bile that you do make and the bile you do get out is going to get more toxic because you're making less of it, so it's more concentrated. And your whole detox system, your P-glycoprotein, your ALDH, and your cytochromes are not working as well. So you're not detoxing as well, so you're accumulating more toxins at the same exposure. Okay? So here what they're saying. So these are bioflavonoids, naringin and naringinin. Naringin and naringinin are not the primary cytochrome 3A inhibitors in grapefruit juice. Well, why are we told not to take grapefruit juice with so many medications? Because grapefruit juice strongly inhibits cytochrome 3A4, which is the main detoxer, one of the main detox pathways that drugs go through. So grapefruit juice tends to slow down your breakdown of these toxic medications, and they build up in your system. And they used to think that, the big thought was that these things are what does it. Well, what is it? Or what about orange juice? The effect of various citrus juices and solutions of naringin on cytochrome 3A4 activity in rat liver microsomes was compared by measuring the formation of 6-beta-hydroxytestosterone from testosterone. Control enzyme activity was reduced more than 70% by grapefruit juice. This is high in naringin and naringinin. Freshly squeezed sour or Seville orange juice containing only 20%, we could put the word here only, 20% as much naringin was comparable to grapefruit juice in its ability to inhibit microsomal activity. That's why they're saying it's not naringin or naringinin. There's something stronger in orange juice. These data suggest that grapefruit juice inhibits cytochrome 3A activity in vitro, and that neither naringin nor naringinin are primarily responsible for this effect. A compound present in both grapefruit juice and Seville orange juice and extractable into organic solvents appears to be responsible. So, wow, orange juice is pretty strong. in inhibiting the cytochrome system, okay? So let's head into lemon juice, the effect of lemon extracts on the quantity and quality of mice sperm. So this is an interesting thing. This is going to fit into the duration paradox. I haven't got into this too much in the effect of positive versus negative things, but here we go. The optimum condition was seen in 25% of lemon extract. So they had a lower level extract where the increase of lemon concentration suppressed the lemon improvement effect. So as they went up higher in lemon extract concentration, it suppressed their early improvement, which reduced the sperm quality and quantity. However, the improvement was still made if the result was compared to control. So they're saying that the low level lemon extract was better than control. Yeah, meaning consuming lemon was better than, they missed a word here because they don't speak English as their first language, than not consuming any lemon treatment. The result was in accordance with quality improvement of sperm, where 25% of lemon concentration treatment provided the highest average motility and normal morphology of sperm. However, the high concentration of lemon extract, 50% and 75% of lemon concentrations, provided a lower effect due to the adverse effect. The result proved that lemon could be used to boost the quality and quantity of sperm in an appropriate concentration, whereas the excess lemon extract could reduce the effect of lemon in improving sperm quality and quantity. Too much citrus, not going to be good for fertility. Okay, so we just went over lemon juice and we went over lime juice, and now so our other parts of the citrus anti-fertility as well. Well, you could look at this. We don't have to go into this too much in detail. Study of the anti-fertility effect of lemon seeds in female albino mice. Remember, we went over carrot seeds, the Queen Anne's lace, the progenitor, where all the modern carrots came from. The seeds of Queen Anne's lace, which was the original wild carrot, were used to cause miscarriages. They were used as a natural abortion agent. Among the citrus species, Citrus limonum is native of the northwest region of India. The petroleum, ether, alcoholic, and aqueous extracts of Citrus limonum lemon seeds were investigated for anti-fertility effect in female albino mice. Basically, they're just saying it's anti-fertility. So the lemon seed extract. What are they saying here? Anti-zygotic. This is the fertilized egg. They're saying it has an action against the fertilization of the egg. Principal mode of action is as an anti-zygotic agent. So it's against fertility of the egg. The zygote is the fertilized egg. Okay. More citrus limon extract. Possible inhibitory mechanisms affecting testicular functions and fertility in male mice. So this is actually going to be the leaf of the lemon. So we now have the juice, we have the seeds, we have the leaves. Like, which part of this is not, like, how are people going to argue that they're going to be like, oh, well, you don't have enough research on oranges. Oh, come on. Like, give me a break. We got oranges, we got lemons, we got limes, we got orange, we got grapefruit. The effect of oral administration of 50% ethanolic leaf extract of citrus limon for 35 days on fertility and various male reproductive endpoints was evaluated in Park's strain of mice. Basically, it just degenerated their testicles. They had to be off of it for 56 days for it to return to normal levels. So they're saying it's reversible. Yeah. Might take a while. Yeah. Oh, wait. Did I mention cytochrome 3A4 being connected to P-glycoprotein? And if you didn't know already, I'm going to go over the polyphenols more. Polyphenols, including bioflavonoids, slow ALDH. And now we already went over cytochrome 3A, which is mainly cytochrome 3A4 with these bioflavonoids. And now we're going to go over P-glycoprotein. So we're establishing the connection between these two. P-glycoprotein, ALDH, cytochrome system, especially cytochrome P453A4, and it tends to reduce bile production, which slows the whole process down, which can be why people feel better. Remember, you stop pumping out bile or stop pumping out so much bile, You don't leak as much into your bloodstream. If you don't understand this concept, you need to go watch the toxic bile theory video, episode 71 or 53, and start there so you can understand what is going on and how people can manipulate their symptoms by poisoning themselves. Okay. Inhibition of P-glycoprotein activity by limonene and other secondary metabolites from citrus species in human colon and leukemia cell lines. Inhibiting your cellular detox. I'm going to read this kind of slow, so for those of you who are new, you understand this. P-glycoprotein, PGP, a membrane transporter encoded by the MDR1 gene. So if you're ever looking for P-glycoprotein, you can look for this too. In human cells, mediates drug efflux from cells and plays a major role in causing multi-drug resistance. Okay, I want you to understand this. Drug efflux from cells. Efflux is pushing things out. Drugs are toxins. PGP is in control of kicking toxins out of the cells. Now, what does oncology or cancer medicine want for you? They want to give you poison called chemotherapy. Do they want you resistant to it? They don't want your cells resistant to it. P-glycoprotein, if P-glycoprotein is running too well, it means you kick out the chemotherapy faster and you're not as susceptible to their chemo poison treatment. So keep reading here. P-glycoprotein plays a major role in causing multi-drug resistance, which is one of the most accepted mechanisms for failure of chemotherapy and cancer treatment. If you detox too fast, chemo doesn't work because they're poisoning you. Okay? In this study, we investigated the effects of 9 naturally occurring compounds isolated from citrus, jambiri, lush, and citrus piriformis hask rutaceae for their potential to modulate or change the activity of PGP in the multi-drug resistant human leukemia cell line. Limonene, deacetyl-nomilin hesperidin, there it is. This is one that people will supplement. Neohesperidin, stigmasterol, and SS-cytosterol O-glucoside inhibited the efflux, prevented the detox of the PGP substrate, rhodamine 123. So rhodamine 123, your cells try to get rid of it via PGP. So this is a toxin that your cells get rid of via PGP. Did you know vitamin D is removed from your cells by PGP too? I'll be going over that soon, but that's going to play into our very last paper. Stigmasterol and SS-cytosterol O-glucoside inhibited the efflux of the PGP substrate rhodamine 123 in a concentration-dependent manner. The more that was there, the more the detox was inhibited. The more toxic you become, the slower your detox goes. Some of these compounds were more active than verapamil, which was used as a positive control. Okay, verapamil, I went over this in the ivermectin Infertility Psyop. Verapamil is their control PGP inhibitor. This is like their baseline PGP inhibitor. When they have ivermectin studies, what do they give the animals to cause the most problems with ivermectin? They give them a PGP inhibitor, verapamil. That's their standard. So they're saying some of these citrus compounds were more active than verapamil at PGP inhibition, which means they're inhibiting PGP. It means they're inhibiting ALDH. It means they're inhibiting the cytochrome system, as you just saw, and they're messing with bile. Treatment of drug-resistant, that means their PGP is working better. CACO2 cells with the most active C. jambiri and C. piriformis compounds increase their sensitivity to doxorubicin, so they could be poisoned more easily, and completely reverse doxorubicin resistance because they inhibited the detox, which agrees with the decreased PGP activity. Limonene was the most potent P-glycoprotein inhibitor when it was applied at a non-toxic concentration of 20 micromoles. It significantly enhanced doxorubicin cytotoxicity 3 times and 2.2 times in CACO2 and the leukemia cells, respectively. This is why we don't generally do citrus. If you're going to do citrus, if you're on this program and you want to do any citrus, the juice of 1 lemon a day is all I would suggest you consider, if you even want to do it. That's it. If you want to do a lime, fine, whatever. But you got to be careful with this, and do not eat the peel. Do not squeeze out the lemon oil. Like, don't. So again, we're going to go into the bioenhancing effects of Naringin, one of the bioflavonoids, on atorvastatin. So statins, it's going to bioflavonoids enhance statins. Why would they do that? Because it's inhibiting detox. Naringin is a flavonone glycoside obtained from Citrus paradisi, grapefruit, a natural bioenhancer, and reported to enhance the bioavailability of drugs by inhibiting cytochrome P450 and P-glycoprotein. Do you see the connection again? So they're saying it's enhancing the bioavailability of drugs. So they're saying they measure more in the blood by inhibiting detox. This is exactly why when they made like liposomal curcumin, and they're like, we see more of it in the blood. They shut down detox and you see more in the blood. They just said it. We inhibit 2 detox pathways and we see more of this drug in the blood, which they call it bioavailability. Or, well, I mean, poisons are bioavailable too. That's how they kill you. They have to get into the system. Bioavailable just means it gets into the system. Like the whole nonsense of bioavailable copper. Any copper that gets into your system is bioavailable. Mercury you eat from fish, is that bioavailable? Yeah, it's in your system, as you'll see in the fish and shellfish section. For the results, it is evident that the co-administration of Naringin along with atorvastatin increased the plasma concentration of atorvastatin. Slow detox, build up more toxins in your blood. Let's just keep going. Minor effects of the citrus flavonoids. Naringin, and quercetin. You folks out there who got duped by the company of wellness, quercetin slows detox just like everything else they use. On the pharmacokinetics of doxorubicin, that chemotherapy in rats. So they're going to use bioflavonoids to enhance the toxicity of chemo. We investigated the effects of Naringin, and quercetin on the pharmacokinetics of doxorubicin in rats. These citrus flavonoids, bioflavonoids, are known as P-glycoprotein inhibitors. They didn't hesitate at all. That's what they do. Now, I'm going to hit these real quick. So we've been over giving lime and orange and lemon and grapefruit and the bioflavonoids, which are they're very much in the peel. People out there, they're bioavailable ND, who's a Peter, is telling people to grind up an entire, I don't know if it was an orange or a lemon in a blender and eat the whole thing. Well, that would mean seeds too. So we got seeds and citrus seeds and infertility. We got citrus peel and infertility. We got just citrus juice and infertility. Yeah, don't do what she says. What happens when they just add lemon juice to sperm anyway? It basically destroys it. So we have sperm immobilizing properties of lemon juice. I'm not going to hit on these very quick. Spermicidal effects of lemon juice. Lemon juice can be used as a contraceptive, folks. Citrus is part of the infertility psyop, so don't do a bunch of it. The immobilization of all spermatozoa in vitro. Oh, wait, did I skip one? I skipped one. Here we go. Spermicidal effects of lemon juice and juices from other natural products. Those of you who are still doing pineapple juice because Grant did it a little bit, it's yellow, folks. It's got tons of vitamin A in it. A second profound spermicidal effect was observed when semen was mixed with pineapple juice. The least effects were observed when the semen was mixed with aloe vera juice. Pineapple juice, yellow. Lemon juice, yellow. Aloe vera juice, very light green. What is one of the colors that we say is generally okay for plant foods? Very light green. Okay. It's weird that these patterns keep coming up. The immobilization of all spermatozoa in vitro by bitter lemon drink. And they were going to use this. They have like a drink in Nigeria. Crest bitter lemon immobilized all spermatozoa within 1 minute of addition. Okay. So when animals and animals take this stuff, it messes with their testicles and their ovaries and their fertility and their sperm. And then when they just pour it on the stuff, it destroys it. It basically just destroys it. So drinking orange juice every day might be a problem. Yeah. Okay, now let's get into Peters do love their dairy. So I want you to remember as we're going over this, I didn't go too much into calcium today, but dairy, high calcium, vitamin A, vitamin D, whether it's raw or pasteurized with added stuff to it. Okay. Peters are also, it's crazy how Peters are they think they're so anti-estrogen, and yet everything they does is like super estrogenic. Just wait till we get to the progesterone. Oh my goodness. So what happens? Exposure to exogenous, this is estrogen from outside of the system coming in through the intake of commercial milk produced from pregnant cows. Modern genetically improved dairy cows continue to lactate throughout almost the entire pregnancy. Therefore, recent commercial cow's milk contains large amounts of estrogens and progesterone. Progesterone is bad for male fertility, folks. We'll get into that. With regard to the exposure of prepubertal children to exogenous estrogens, the authors are particularly concerned about commercial milk produced from pregnant cows. And I believe there's lots of Peters out there who say that just good old grocery store milk is just fine. There's no problem with it. Results after the intake of cow milk. Serum estrone. I want you to understand when they're measuring serum estrone, like cow hormones, as far as I'm aware, like horses have 7 estrogens. Okay. Humans have 3. So what I'm getting at here is if they're giving cows hormones, they're probably giving them, pharmaceutical hormones, but they're not the same as ours. They're not giving them human bioidentical hormones. So if you see things go up like estrone, which is a human estrogen, and progesterone go up, these are likely different in structure than what cows make and horses make and other animals make. So it's estrogenic in nature. So after the intake of cow milk, serum estrone and progesterone concentrations significantly increased, and serum luteinizing hormone, LH, this is what stimulates testosterone production in men especially, follicle stimulating hormone, this is what stimulates sperm production in men, and testosterone significantly decreased in men. LH so I want you to pay attention because we're going to get into this in the progesterone thing because Peters love their progesterone. Progesterone increased. LH went down. FSH went down. Testosterone went down in men. This is what happens when they give progesterone too. Urine concentrations of estrone, estradiol, estriol, and pregnanediol significantly increase in all adults and children. Milk is raising estrogen in everybody. In 4 out of 5 women, ovulation occurred during the milk intake, and the timing of ovulation was similar among the 3 menstrual cycles. I just did a post on Twitter the other day about how early puberty is toxicity. Early menopause is toxicity. We have little girls in this country getting their puberty, hitting puberty at 8 years old. I like to think that I'm doing a good job with my kids. My daughter didn't fully hit hit her menstrual cycle. And when I say puberty, I mean the menstrual cycle. My daughter didn't fully hit her menstrual cycle until she was 15 something. And I had other family members worried about that. And I'm going, it's just fine. We're going to be just fine. And then finally, she started. So early puberty. So they're saying here, they're drinking milk and they're ovulating sooner. Like when they drink milk, they ovulate. And we see all the estrogens go up. What does too much estrogen tend to be associated with in people, especially women, folks? Breast cancer, toxin storage. Imagine that. The present data on men and children indicate that estrogens in milk were absorbed and gonadotropin secretion was suppressed, followed by a decrease in testosterone secretion. Sexual maturation of prepubertal children could be affected by the ordinary intake of cow milk. That's called early puberty. Okay, let's keep going. And that's the other thing. In peating, they advocate lots of dairy. My personal experience with peating, I decided to do it with goat milk because I thought I was being like extra smart. And I was like, oh, goat milk's more easily digestible and the fat globules are small. I believed all the crap I read. I did not know back then about vitamin A toxicity. I also didn't know that it's said that goat milk has 4 times as much vitamin A in it as cow milk. And within 2, I was eating goat milk, goat cheese, and goat yogurt. I was really trying to do the Peat thing. Like I was dairy all day. By the end of 2 weeks, my sinus headaches were so bad that I had to quit. Like I just could not handle it anymore. I was like, this is not good for me. Because I already knew that cow milk caused me to become phlegmy. That was one of the very first things I realized in health. I was like 15 and I would drink a glass of milk, and halfway through the glass of milk, I would get phlegmy. So I finally decided that that's not a good thing. So that was where I first realized that what I ate could affect how I felt. And it went from there. So dairy food intake in relation to semen quality and reproductive hormone levels among physically active young men. Study question: is increased consumption of dairy foods associated with lower semen quality? Answer: we found that intake of full-fat dairy, which is what is advocated by Peat, was inversely related to sperm motility and morphology. That's bad. More fat, worse stuff. The associations were driven primarily by the intake of cheese and were independent of overall dietary patterns. Is there anything else in this one? I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, again, as I said, folks, you don't try to add fat to your diet. We are not low fat here. This is a thing that people will try to gotcha us on. We're not low fat. Like if you're eating beef on a regular basis, you're not low fat. You never will be technically low fat. Even if you drain the beef, there's still plenty of fat in there that you're not low fat. What we talk about is not adding extra fats. There's a huge difference. You understand? The fats in foods that we eat, we don't worry about that. We don't try to eat fatty beef, but we're not scared of the fat in good beef. You understand? This is a huge thing. High dietary intake of saturated fat is associated with reduced semen quality among 701 young Danish men from the general population. So remember that last one, we had physically active young men. Their sperms getting destroyed by cheese. Now here we have high dietary intake of saturated fat in Danish men. So this is European guys. This is not Americans eating trans fats. Okay? Newly published study found an association between saturated fat intake and a lower sperm concentration in infertile men. A lower sperm concentration and total sperm count in men with a high intake of saturated fat was found. A significant dose-response association was found in men in the highest quartile of saturated fat intake. Think your keto bros. Had a 38% lower sperm concentration and a 41% lower sperm count than did men in the lowest quartile. No association between semen quality and intake of other types of fat was found. Only saturated fat was something found. The guys who ate the most fat, 40% lower, basically, sperm concentration and what was the other one? Sperm count versus the lowest guys. Highest versus the lowest of just saturated fat. Stop thinking that adding saturated. Okay, folks, somebody was saying this on another one of my videos. People think that fat actually detoxes you. Fat does nothing to detox. Fat is toxin storage. Fat doesn't make your liver run faster. Why does your liver get fatty? Because it can't get rid of all the fats and the fat-soluble toxins. You get it? Fatty liver develops because your liver cannot get rid of all the fat and fat-soluble toxins. I would also suggest you go watch the weight loss and toxicity episode so you can get up on that. Your body fat stores toxins. Your liver stores toxins. As they store more and more toxins, they get bigger. They make more fat. Saturated fat or any other type of fat does not run detox. Fat is what toxins are used to store with. You bind toxins to fat and you store them. That's it. And then your body decides when it's ready to, it tries to get rid of it. Why do we all want to be lean, because an excess amount of fat is not a good sign of general health. What do we intuitively know? They're probably toxic. Okay. I mean, it all makes sense when you think about it, but somebody was trying to say that they thought like adding a bunch of lauric acid or palmitic acid to my approach would somehow detox people faster. No, it will just store more toxins that we're trying to get out. Show me evidence of fats increasing the speed of detox. Show it to me, because I don't know that it exists. If it lowers things in the blood, how could it lower things in the blood? Like if you had fat-soluble toxins in the blood and then they give somebody fat and they go down, did they detox it or did they just store it? Fat-soluble means fat storable. You put in a bunch of fat with the toxins that are floating around and you store them in the fat better because that's what you need to put them away. So let's keep going. I'm getting a little passionate about this today, huh? Now we're going to go into one of the big things that Peters like to talk about. They love their oysters, and they tend to be big fans of shellfish and like lower PUFA fish. Okay. What does this do to fertility? Infertility, blood mercury concentrations, and dietary seafood consumption, a case control study. Infertile couples had higher blood mercury concentrations than fertile couples. Infertility is toxicity and poor health. The more toxic you get, the slower you detox. So if you're taking in more toxic stuff like fish, you're going to get slower at detoxing it, which makes you have more stuck in your system. Infertile males with abnormal semen and infertile females with unexplained infertility also had higher blood mercury concentrations than their fertile counterparts. Blood mercury concentrations were positively correlated with quantity of seafood consumption. Infertile subjects with elevated blood mercury concentrations consumed a larger amount of seafood. Conclusion: higher blood mercury concentration is associated with male and female infertility. Higher seafood consumption is associated with elevated blood mercury concentrations in our infertile population. What a coinky dink. Shocking. Folks, on a hair test, I can absolutely watch it happen that if somebody was eating more fish or shellfish before they started working with me, and I see their level, and you tell them, this is only going to come down by you not eating fish or shellfish, or by eating less than you already are. And they do that, and their hair mercury goes down. It's like right there in front of our faces. Okay. Look at this one. Seafood consumption is associated with higher follicular fluid arsenic and mercury concentrations in women undergoing in vitro fertilization. So FF means ovarian follicular fluid when we get down here. Consumption of specific seafood items and turkey, they threw that in, were correlated with individual follicular fluid toxic trace elements. We also found that each unit of higher seafood consumption in the past week, dominated by mollusks, that would be shellfish, shrimp, and bass, were associated with a 60% higher follicular fluid arsenic level and follicular fluid mercury level concentration. So that's 60% higher arsenic and mercury, both of them. Higher annual seafood consumption dominated by urchin, crab, and trout were associated with a 16% higher follicular fluid arsenic and a 31% higher follicular fluid mercury concentrations per unit intake. Trout's fresh water. I'm telling you, I don't care if it's salt water or fresh water. They are marinating in and breathing whatever is in the water. Okay? This is just the way it is. Like cattle, at least with like cattle when they're outside, if it rains, the rain goes into the ground. The cattle are not like marinating in whatever the water in the air. Like it may hit them and run off or whatever, and they're going to be exposed to some of it, but they're not marinating in and breathing the poison water. You understand? Is there any perfect food out there? No, not these days. No. But don't eat the things that are marinating and breathing the toxic water. No associations were noted between diet and cadmium and lead levels in follicular fluid. Okay, I can tell you though, when I look at hair tests, mercury and cadmium tend to move up and down together, and they will come down as people eat less fish or shellfish. I see it. That's just, I watch it. So they're saying they don't see it in the follicular fluid, but I'm saying I see it on the hair test. Overall, our results suggest that higher seafood consumption contributes to elevated levels of arsenic and mercury in follicular fluid. These findings are consistent with previous IVF studies. So there's already studies out there that assess toxic trace element exposures in blood and urine. So this is repeating what they'd already found or backing it up. Okay, let's keep going. Maternal fish and shellfish intake and pregnancy outcomes, a prospective cohort study in Brittany, France. So this is not America. This is not America. This is France. The risk of small for gestational age. The risk of small for gestational age birth was significantly higher among women eating shellfish twice a week and more than among those eating it less than once a month. Twice a week or more. Some of these Peters are eating like oysters like daily. Okay. Organochlorine pesticides, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, organochlorine pesticides. That glyphosate is basically in there too, but there's lots of other organochlorine pesticides. Seafood consumption and time to pregnancy. Fat-soluble toxins are floating around in the water, and the fish and the shellfish are breathing them. Shellfish particularly they're filter feeders. So they are collecting these poisons in them. That's what they do. Let's see what happens. Shellfish consumption was associated with a longer time to pregnancy. They took them longer to get pregnant, but fish consumption was not. Time to pregnancy increased with increasing serum levels for most of the compounds studied. So they're saying PCBs, organochlorine, pesticides, all that stuff. So they're saying the more these things they had in their blood, the longer it took them to get pregnant. In multiple sensitivity analyses, reduced fecundability, an inability to get pregnant, more inability to get pregnant, was most consistently associated with shellfish consumption. And then these toxins, PCB, and I believe this, a DDE is it might be a breakdown product of DDT, but it's also just another pesticide. Models that simultaneously included multiple co-exposure factors led to similar conclusions. So they're saying toxins are synergistic. When they looked at them together, they might have got lower levels of each one, but when they put them together, they saw the same problem. The biggest thing that science gets wrong is they don't accept, because they can't study it, that all these toxins work together to become even more toxic. It's like 1 + 1 = 5. It's not 1 + 1 = 3. It's like way more toxic. Okay, the effect of fish consumption on blood mercury levels of pregnant women. To examine these potential relationships, pregnant women were divided into two groups. A study group was educated to restrict fish intake. That sounds like my people. Whereas a control group did not receive any prenatal education regarding fish consumption. So this is just before they were pregnant. The average initial blood mercury level of both groups was 2.94 micrograms per liter with a range of 0.14 to 10.75. So huge range. But anyway, so they're saying the average of both groups was the same at the start before they educated them. Half of them to not, that's the study group, is the one they educated to not eat fish or shellfish. Okay. Blood mercury level in the group who ate fish more than 4 times per month was significantly higher than that of the group that did not consume fish. Do not believe any of the fishmongers who are telling you that the selenium in the fish protects you against the mercury. They are trying to protect their industry because fish are full of mercury. And they've got to make excuses so you'll eat it. Don't. In follow-up studies, blood mercury levels were decreased in the study group, that's the one that didn't eat fish, but slightly increased in the control group. They were pregnant, right? Yes, they were pregnant. Okay, ladies, one of the reasons you feel like shit when you're pregnant is because your liver is dealing with all the hormones of pregnancy, and so that's actually more toxicity Hormones are treated like by your liver like toxins, okay? So when you get pregnant, you start making tons and tons of hormones because you're building a new person. But it's also when you start spilling tons of toxins out of your liver into your bloodstream. And this is why you feel so bad when you're pregnant. We have women who were pregnant before the program, and we have women who were pregnant after the program. The ladies who are doing the program, they start saying, my pregnancy was so easy. I didn't have these other problems. We just had a woman who had 3 jaundiced babies in a row, and then she does our stuff, and now she has a non-jaundiced baby. And we just had another woman who got pregnant at age 43 without doing IVF or any of this stuff. We fix fertility. So when I'm sitting here telling you, these are the things that the Peters do, and they're infertile. And these are the things that we do the opposite of this. And we see people, like, I have to warn people, ladies who are like 40 something, and tell them, like, you better be on your I didn't say birth control. I didn't mean birth control. I mean, you better be doing something to prevent getting pregnant, because you're going to be so fertile that you're going to get pregnant. That's what's happened before. We make people, the term we use is dangerously fertile. So if you don't want to get pregnant, you better be taking action, whatever that is. The motherly blood mercury level in late pregnancy was positively correlated with mercury levels of cord blood. Ladies, your baby is made of what you're made of. Your baby is not born with a clean slate. If you are toxic, if your baby was born jaundiced, you are toxic. Your liver is not working. Your children's liver is not working. That's why they're jaundiced. The placenta does not completely protect the baby. The baby's not like no baby is born with a clean slate. Clean slate theory is just garbage. Throw it away. It's complete BS. It's like DEI. It's just throw it in the garbage. If you're full of mercury, your kid is too. But I want you to pay attention to this. The maternal blood mercury level in late pregnancy was positively correlated with mercury levels of cord blood. They go up and down together, which was almost twice the level found in maternal blood. The cord blood had twice as much mercury in it as the mother's blood. You are passing down your toxicity. This is why I tell people, like, do at least 6 months of detox before you try to get pregnant. We need to get all this crap out of you, or you're just going to put it in the kid. Don't do that. Pregnant women who consume a large amount of fish may have high blood mercury levels. Further, cord blood mercury levels were much higher than that of maternal blood. Because the level of fish intake appears to influence blood mercury level, preconceptual education might be necessary in order to decrease fish consumption. Yeah, don't eat those oysters. Oh, now we get to go into the fun one. Wait, Joe. Let me get the right one. Okay. Yes. Now we're going into the progesterone psyop that Peters love to push. Progest-E, Progest-E, progesterone and vitamin E. You guys who know, have been following me for a while, you know that vitamin E will tend to increase the amount of vitamin A in the liver, but it can increase it by up to 10 times in a mouse study. So vitamin E increases your internal poisoning of vitamin A. And we went over vitamin A as an infertility psyop in the very first episode of this. And then progesterone. Progesterone is the most anti-masculine hormone out there. And Peters are mostly men, and Peters are taking progesterone. We're going to get into this. Guys, put the progesterone down. First, if you're looking at this first paper, progesterone is important for transgender women's therapy, applying evidence for the benefits of progesterone in cis women. Male to female. Progesterone is important for it. I mean, It is important to add progesterone to estradiol and an anti-androgen in transgender women's hormone therapy. Progesterone may add the following: more rapid feminization, decreased endogenous testosterone production, optimal breast maturation to Tanner stages 4 to 5. Does this sound masculinizing, folks? More rapid feminization, decreased testosterone, and their breasts are getting bigger. Oh, but I'm sure they just said, notice they didn't say, the Peters will be like, no, they mean progestins. I'm like, no, progesterone. That's what they said here. If they want to say progestins, they'll say progestins. This is progesterone. So let's keep going. Here's another paper, effects of progesterone on gender affirmation outcomes as part of feminizing hormone therapy. Now, let's go back. Let me just remind you guys of the study I went over in the Cell Journal, where they had pregnant mice that they poisoned with vitamin A. The baby mice, when they came out, they have ended up sacrificing them and looking at their ovaries under a microscope. I'm sorry, their testicles, the male baby mice. They looked at the male baby mice testicles under a microscope, and they saw ovarian tissue in the testicles. So they saw ovarian tissue in the testicles. And as I've said before, when we have these men who are saying, I feel like a woman on the inside, do you understand that that can literally be true from vitamin A toxicity now? They showed it in the mice. They're not going to do it in humans. They're not going to sacrifice. Well, I mean, who knows what the bad guys are doing, but normal science is not going to be sacrificing babies to cut open their testicles to look for ovarian tissue in there. And then they wouldn't have even known if the guy was going to turn into a trans person. Okay. So, effects of progesterone on gender affirmation outcomes as part of a feminizing progesterone, as part of a feminizing hormone therapy. The addition of progesterone to standard feminizing hormone therapy was associated with greater satisfaction with breast development and improved patient mental health within 6 months compared with standard GAHT regimens alone in this patient population. As guys, if you take this, I mean, you're asking for it. I mean, addition of progesterone to feminizing gender affirming hormone therapy in transgender individuals for breast development, a randomized controlled trial. I don't know if I had something else on this one. Nope, that was all. Just wanted to show you. Now, if you guys want to, you can go to Reddit. Go to Reddit and type, or just search on the internet, type progesterone breast Reddit. And you will find tons of people talking about their breasts growing, men growing breasts by applying progesterone creams, over-the-counter progesterone creams. So these are not super high concentration, over-the-counter progesterone creams to their chest. I saw one. I didn't want to go over these posts today because I don't want to promote this, but I saw a post today where somebody, a man said that his went from like a 34B to a 34 triple D. Like, that's crazy. Okay. Progesterone is not doing men any favors. And if guys say, oh, it helps your prostate, that's because it's making your prostate less of a prostate, if you understand what I mean. So now, why would this be demasculinizing? Demonstration of progesterone receptor-mediated gonadotropin suppression. Gonadotropin suppression in the human male. It's suppressing your male hormone pathway. Okay? Both progesterone, notice it's not progestin, it's progesterone. Both progesterone and desogestrel administration resulted in decreases in the concentration of both LH, stimulates testosterone production, and FSH, stimulates sperm production, secretion, as well as testosterone. Could we get any more anti-fertility? Analysis of the pulsatile nature of LH secretion indicated that both treatments, progesterone included, reduced LH pulse amplitude, and that progesterone reduced LH plus pulse frequency. So progesterone reduced LH pulse amplitude, how strong it got, and how frequent it happened. Progesterone, but not desogestrel treatment, also reduced the increase in LH secretion in response to gonadotropin-releasing hormone. So when they gave gonadotropin-releasing hormone, which is supposed to make you release LH to stimulate testosterone production, progesterone decreased that effect too. Notice I keep hitting on progesterone. I'm not hitting on progestins because the Peters will come here and they'll be like, progestin is bad. It's not progesterone. No, I'm doing this. I went and I found papers on progesterone. So did Kelsey. Joe, if I skip some studies, we'll figure it out. Progesterone, the forgotten hormone in men. Is it forgotten, or is it that we just don't really need it? Let's pay attention to this. When they say it's forgotten, surprisingly, so Peters are out there dosing themselves on this. Surprisingly, we know little about the physiology, endocrinology, and pharmacology of progesterone and progestins in male, gender, or men, respectively. Despite the fact that as to progesterone secretion and serum progesterone levels, there are no great quantitative differences between men and women, at least outside of the luteal phase. When they start giving progesterone, things get wonky. What does progesterone affect? It influences spermiogenesis, sperm capacitation, acrosome reaction, and testosterone biosynthesis in the Leydig cells. So that can, when they're saying it influences, they could mean too much of it. You know, it may go up or down is what they mean. Other progesterone effects in men include those on the CNS, mainly mediated by 5-alpha reduced progesterone metabolites as so-called neurosteroids. What else is a 5-alpha reduction? Testosterone to DHT. DHT is your real, true masculinizing hormone, guys. You do not want to fight against your DHT unless you want to be less of a man. Including blocking of gonadotropin secretion. Ruins your hormones. Sleep improvement. Oh, you can be a more girly man while you sleep better. And effects on tumors in the CNS, as well as effects on the immune system, cardiovascular system, kidney function, adipose tissue, behavior, and respiratory system. A progestin, which stimulates the progesterone receptor, may stimulate weight gain and appetite in men as well as in women. Well, again, remember, DHT is what you want to be masculine. Forget about the whole DHT gives you prostate cancer, DHT causes male pattern hair loss. That's not it. That's been fully debunked. Just because a DHT inhibitor basically can get men to grow back a little bit of their hair, that doesn't mean it's DHT is the problem. Maybe we'll go over that. Oh yeah, Will said they made DHT illegal for a reason. Do you know that even like you can't get DHT basically in this country at all? That is where you should be looking. You should be looking at why did they make DHT basically. I've contacted, it's technically, I guess, Will, they could allow it, like if, but the pharmacies are so scared of carrying it that they won't. So apparently, from what I understand, they could carry it, but they won't because they're worried about the FDA doing something to them. So when people start talking about ivermectin is suppressed, no, it's freaking not. DHT, no one will carry it. And if we start talking about DHT as the real masculinizing hormone that Peters should probably be on instead of progesterone, DHT is actually not available in the country. Well, that's not available. That is suppressed. They do not want men manly. So what happens? Pete comes along and tells everybody to take progesterone. Progesterone treatment inhibits, and dihydrotestosterone treatment potentiates voltage-gated calcium currents in gonadotropin-releasing hormone neurons. They do the opposite thing. Gonadotropin-releasing hormones. So GnRH stimulates the release of LH and FSH does the sperm, and LH does the testosterone, okay? Are central regulators of fertility, and their activity is modulated by steroid feedback. Voltage-gated calcium channels are important to regulating excitability and hormone release. These data suggest progesterone and DHT have opposing actions on voltage-gated calcium channels in gonadotropin-releasing hormone neurons. But in the presence of both steroids, progesterone dominates. I have a saying that fits right here. The poison always wins. They just said it. When they're both here, like when you try to out-supplement a toxin, the poison always wins. That's just how it works. In the presence of both steroids, progesterone dominates, which means it shuts things down. I love how I'm getting examples of my little sayings here. Okay, so are these things the opposite? Dihydrotestosterone, DHT, and progesterone, are they basically the opposite? So what happens, the effects of dihydrotestosterone on progesterone secretion in pseudo-pregnant rats? To determine if the administration of DHT suppresses serum progesterone concentrations in pseudo-pregnant rats. Remember, we just said that they do the opposite thing. Giving the DHT, the treatment induced within 24 hours a 50% decline in serum progesterone concentrations in decidua-bearing rats only. They are the opposite. If you would like to be more masculine, you want to help your DHT. If you would like to, as a man, if you want to be more feminine and grow breasts, push the progesterone. Okay? Now, let's just go into, so again, we're talking about fertility here. So progestins, remember, are synthetic progesterones. They're made to bind to the progesterone receptor. So they're stimulating an effect of progesterone. I think I went over some of these papers in the very first one, but male contraception. What can we use? Male contraception, the use of either testosterone alone or a combination of testosterone and progesterone seems like a promising male pill for men. All right. Notice they didn't say progestin. Let me see. They said progesterone. Let's go to the next one. Advances in male contraception. So this is, again, this is the most, this is the biggest evidence of the infertility psyop that we have, is when they're actually trying to induce men to be infertile. Let's see what this says. Here we go. Male hormonal contraception methods, testosterone progestin combinations. Let's go find this part. And let's see if we can make this disappear. No, maybe not. Where did it go? Where did my highlighting go? Joe, what am I going to do? Okay. Yeah, F5 ain't, it's going to do the same thing, Joe. It's going to send me back and it's going to, and then it loses the, oh, wait, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. Again, we're going to go into what they know and they don't know about progesterone in men. Like other sex steroids, progesterone is expressed in the male as well as the female, albeit at lower levels. The precise role of progesterone in normal male physiology is unknown. I think we've seen what it does. But progesterone receptors have been demonstrated in the male hypothalamus, pituitary, and reproductive tract. Having a receptor doesn't mean you need to feed it. Okay, just because you have endocannabinoid receptors doesn't mean you have to smoke weed. Okay, like mature male progesterone receptor deficient mice have normal reproductive phenotype, normal serum LH, and mildly decreased FSH levels compared with wild type animals. So wait, when male mice who don't have progesterone receptors are basically pretty normal. Results which suggest that the physiological role of progestins in the male hypothalamic pituitary axis is minimal, at least in the rodent. However, progestins enhance male hormonal contraceptive efficacy when combined with androgens. They have to, oh, so just so you know, funny that Pete is big with white guys. They could, the scientists who were trying to do the male contraceptive, they found in like Asians, testosterone by itself was enough to act like a contraceptive. However, In white people, it wasn't enough. They had to add progesterone or progestin. This is specifically in these papers. Like if you didn't know, the races are different. If you didn't know that, you should understand that, because they actually are. Scientifically. It's not a social construct. So, an effect attributed to increased hypothalamic pituitary suppression of gonadotropin secretion, which is what progesterone does, either directly or through the androgen receptor. Brady compared the effects of progesterone and the synthetic progestin desogestrel on gonadotropin secretion and GnRH responsiveness in normal men. I think we went over this paper. Although both progestins, both of them decreased LH and FSH secretion, only progesterone decreased the LH response to GnRH. This would be lowering testosterone stimulation. These results demonstrate that progesterone affects gonadotropin secretion through progesterone receptors and provide evidence for such inhibition at both the hypothalamic and pituitary levels. GnRH is inhibited and LH is inhibited. That's what it means. However, the effects of exogenous progestins on spermatogenesis are greater than can be accounted for by enhanced suppression of gonadotropins alone. Taking progesterone or progestins, I think they're basically saying progestins and progesterone. They're grouping them into one thing because progestins stimulate the progesterone receptor. It's not just the suppression of hormones alone that is causing all the damage to the sperm. Therefore, it has been suggested that progestins may act directly on the testes. There is recent evidence directly supporting this hypothesis. First, both membrane-bound and intracellular progesterone receptors have been demonstrated in the human testes. Again, just because they're there, it doesn't mean you need it. Second, Walton et al. Recently demonstrated the exogenous progestin desogestrel, when combined with testosterone and a GnRH antagonist. So they're combining progestin, testosterone, and something that goes directly after your hypothalamus, controls a direct effect on testicular gene expression. In this context, progestins influenced expression of genes involved in steroidogenesis, Sertoli cell function, and spermatogenesis. This is not good. Together, these data strongly support an effect of progestins on male reproduction independent of their gonadotropin effects. So they're saying progestins screw up your sperm and your hormones. And they kind of can combine, but they're independent. Exploitation of testicular progestin actions is an additional mechanism whereby specific progestins could be formulated as male contraceptives. They can sterilize you through your progesterone receptors. And I just wanted to go over this real quick here. Progestin is a term used to exclusively designate synthetic compounds that possess progestational activity similar to the natural hormone progesterone. Progestins interact with progesterone receptors. And we went over a bunch of papers with progesterone already. So now we're just going to hit on progestins real quick, what they do. They're just more powerful. They do the same general things. They're just more powerful. Hormonal approaches to male contraception. What are we looking at here? So they added progestins that improve the rate of suppression of sperm production. Okay. I don't think there's any. So these are just using progestins to suppress sperm. Again, use of progestins in male contraception. A review of androgen progestin regimens for male contraception. Oh, this is where we get fun. Chemical castration for sexual offenders, physicians' views. Remember, we just went over how progesterone suppresses sperm production and male hormone production. Who do they really care about chemical castration with? They care about men. Like, it's not usually as big of an issue with women, okay? Medroxyprogesterone acetate and cyproterone acetate have been used throughout the United States, Canada, and some European countries to diminish sexual fantasies and sexual impulses in sexual offenders. They use progestins to chemically castrate people. That would be called infertility, right? Again, this is the Wikipedia page. I don't care what you think of me looking at a Wikipedia page, but these are all referenced. Notice they mentioned specifically medroxyprogesterone acetate. In men, chemical castration reduces sex drive and the capacity for sexual arousal, while it would also kill your sperm. Side effects of some drugs may include depression, suicidal ideation, hot flashes, anemia, infertility, increase in body fat, and higher risks of cardiovascular diseases and osteoporosis. Now let's go into vitamin A and progesterone. Retinoic acid. So I'm going to show you that, like, when medicine says they don't know much about progesterone, what I'm going to tell you is that vitamin A screws it all up. That's what you'll see. We're going to get mixed things out of this. It screws it all up. What we know is that vitamin A screws up your hormones majorly. Vitamin A was one of the very first things we went over in the Infertility Psyop series. So here's this paper. Retinoic acid enhances progesterone production via the CAMP-PKA signaling pathway in immature rat granulosa cells. So this is a cell study, which means duration paradox tends to fit here. So what are we going to say? If retinoic acid in a cell study increases progesterone production, what are we going to assume happens in the whole animal or the whole human? It decreases it. It does the opposite of what it does in cell studies. Okay, that's just something you got to know. If you don't know the duration paradox yet, you're going to have to stick around longer. This is the way things work. So all we're saying here, ATRA, all trans retinoic acid, also known as a chemical peel, tretinoin, enhanced progesterone production by upregulate. So it increased progesterone production in the cells. However, well, remember, Peters don't believe in cells. Peters believe that the inside of your body is just like an electrolyte goo. The Ling stuff. They actually don't believe that there's cells. They think you're just like full of goo. If you didn't know that, go look up Peat and Ling, L-I-N-G. That's what this whole thing is based on. So Peters wouldn't even believe it. So if a Peters ever posting a cell study, they're going against the very ideas that Pete said, where Pete believes in Ling's model of the body and as a big pile of goo that somehow just stays together because of whatever attractions, right? So Peters cannot use cell studies because they don't believe in cells. But they use cell studies to try to back their stuff up. So, testosterone and progesterone level alter. But the other thing I want you to remember. Okay, so if we just said retinoic acid, the last final product of vitamin A, in a cell study, increased progesterone, we're going to say in the whole body, it probably kills progesterone. So that would mean, what do people worry about today? They say they have estrogen dominance. So they have too much estrogen to not enough progesterone. Okay. It's a ratio. How could you get worse estrogen dominance? You could lower progesterone more. What do we just say that the duration paradox said that retinoic acid does to your cells? Lowers progesterone. So this paper, testosterone and progesterone level alterations in the adult rat after retinol or retinoic acid treatment imprinting in neonatal or adolescent age. So this is newborn or as an adolescent. Okay. I think I went over this one before. Newborn rats were treated with a single dose of vitamin A or with 3 doses of retinoic acid in the first, third, and fifth days. Serum testosterone and progesterone level was measured in the 4 months old male and female rats, respectively. Retinol significantly decreased testosterone and progesterone. However, retinoic acid decreased the progesterone level only. So in newborns, vitamin A in general lowered progesterone levels, which would create estrogen dominance. In the second part of the experiment, adolescent rats, so like teenage rats, right, were treated and measured similar to the newborns. In this case, retinol significantly diminished testosterone level without influencing the progesterone level. Retinoic acid decreased testosterone level and elevated progesterone level. That's not good. Isn't that exactly what we were just talking about? Like, you don't want this in guys. You don't want more but look at progesterone went up and testosterone went down. Isn't that what we've been going over in the research? The results demonstrate the long-lasting effects. How many of you out there got vitamin A poison, let's say Accutane in your teenage years, and you're still dealing with it in your 30s, 40s, 50s? The results demonstrate the long-lasting effects of retinoid treatments at a neonatal or adolescent age, pointing also to, adolescent age. When do they give Accutane to kids? teenage years, adolescence, pointing also to the differences in the direction of the effects, considering that previously the receptorial and sexual behavioral effects of perinatal, that's during pregnancy, vitamin A treatments were observed. The experiments call attention to such harmful influences of perinatal vitamin A treatments, which are not manifested in morphological alterations. They're saying they don't actually see like changes in the ovaries or changes in the testicles, but they're seeing hormonal changes. What is the one vitamin you're not supposed to overdo during pregnancy? Vitamin A. What is Weston A. Price having everybody eat tons of? Vitamin A. What is a carrot salad and eating tons of fat going to do to your vitamin A? Fat helps you absorb vitamin A. So doing a bunch of fat will make whatever you're eating, the vitamin A in it. You cannot eat a zero vitamin A diet, but the more fat you put in your diet, the more vitamin A you're going to absorb from your food. That's just the way it is. And then the more of it you store vitamin A in your liver and your body fat by binding it to fatty acids. Sex hormone patterns and serum retinol concentrations in adolescent girls. Vitamin A in the blood. During the follicular phase, serum retinol was associated negatively with progesterone and positively with luteinizing hormone. More vitamin A, less progesterone in girls. In the luteal phase, serum retinol was positively associated with estrogen. More vitamin A, more estrogen. Do you remember what I said about estrogen dominance? More estrogen, less progesterone. What does more vitamin A cause? Serum retinol causes less progesterone and more estrogen. Seriously. Was that it? Oh, no, I got one more. One more. I found this today as I was looking through this stuff. This is going to blow your mind. Vitamin D supplements are sold to us as rat poison. If you did not know this, vitamin D is rat poison. Okay? It kills rats the same way it kills your dog who eats it, the same way it could kill a child or you. If you get enough of it, it causes hypercalcemia. That is how it kills. So anybody out there who says, well, rats and mice aren't us and they have different vitamin D mechanisms. No, vitamin D causes hypercalcemia. That is how it kills the mice and the rats, and that is how it could kill your dog, and that is how it could kill your child. This is why when they sell the vitamin D baits at the store, they put them in these plastic containers so that kids and pets can't eat them because it will kill them too if they get enough. The amount of vitamin D in the vitamin D baits is enough to kill a 35-pound dog. Bigger dogs are just going to get like kidney failure and have to go to the vet, and you're going to have to spend like $10,000 saving their lives. It's rat poison. So, vitamin D in human reproduction. The more, the better, with a question mark, an evidence-based critical appraisal. Let's look at what they found. I want you to pay attention to that very first word, accumulating. We never use that word here, do we? Accumulating evidence. Wow, so the evidence is stacking up is what they're saying. Accumulating evidence from in vitro fertilization trials suggests that fertilization rate, their successes, decreases significantly with increasing levels of 25-hydroxy-D. That's what they call your storage form of vitamin D. This is what they measure in your blood, typically. This is what they call your blood vitamin D level, but it's a storage form, supposedly. So fertilization rate decreases significantly with increasing levels of basically vitamin D in your follicular fluid, ladies. More vitamin D in your follicular fluid, less likely to get pregnant. In addition, vitamin D levels in the follicular fluid are negatively correlated to the quality of embryos. More vitamin D, lower quality embryos. And the higher values of vitamin D are associated with a lower possibility to achieve pregnancy. More vitamin D, lower possibility of pregnancy. Both low and high vitamin D serum concentrations decrease not only spermatozoa count, but their progressive motility as well as increased morphological abnormalities. So let me tell you about this. High vitamin D, we're not shooting for high vitamin D. Low vitamin D is a major problem, and that is one of the vitamin A antagonizes vitamin D. So the first thing you should think if you have low vitamin D levels in your blood is you should think I'm vitamin A toxic. And then you should also think about, am I getting enough protein? We should watch my rickets video on the live streams. Am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough zinc? Am I getting enough magnesium? Am I getting enough light? Sunlight is the best. Okay. If you see a low vitamin D level, do not take rat poison to fix it. Fix your vitamin A toxicity, fix your sunlight, fix your protein intake, fix your zinc intake, fix your topical magnesium intake, and your vitamin D levels will fix themselves. Your body does it. It's not you taking pills of false light rat poison. Actually, I went over this on my Twitter today. This was a really cool thing that Jamie Andrews, I did a podcast with him yesterday. He told me about after we were done on the podcast. So coleca, okay, I don't know how to pronounce Latin words, so if I'm pronouncing these words wrong, sue me. So he told me that coleca elcifer, so we have two words here. The first part, coleca, or that also can be spelled choleca. And then the second part of the word is else, that we're continuing the word lcifer. lcifer. What? There's only one letter missing from that to spell a very important word, right? You add a U and you get Lucifer. Okay. So in Latin and in English and all this stuff, lcifer is Lucifer. Go do Google Translate on it. lcifer is Lucifer. Okay. So that second part of the word is there. Now, coleca, when it is coleca, means clothes. Lucifer's clothes. Okay, when you do choleca, that means vest. So somebody might say cholecalciferol, translated into the breaking the words into Latin, either means Lucifer's clothes or Lucifer's vest. And then somebody sent me, they did Latin to Croatian. They sent me this on Twitter. So the way it breaks down in Latin to Croatian was Lucifer's, this is great. Lucifer's bile. What? We don't talk about bile here at all, do we? Trying to fix toxic bile? Could it be Satan? I don't know. So what are they trying to get everybody to take? Vitamin D. Do they want you to be infertile? I don't know. Look at this evidence. Accumulating evidence. But can high vitamin D? I remember when Mercola used to be pushing people to get their vitamin D level over 100. Okay. I want you to understand how impossible that is without poisoning yourself with rat poison. Australian lifeguards, right? So they're in Australia, they're lifeguards, they're out in the sun all the time, and there's the hole in the ozone layer. Their vitamin D levels were like 50s. Okay? Out in the sun all the time. They were in the 50s. And this guy's telling you to get over 100. Trying to give you a heart attack. Okay? Don't do that. So high vitamin D, if you're getting high vitamin D, if your vitamin D is good, I only want you above, first I want you above a 20, and then if you can get above a 30 by doing the stuff we do, that's fine. The only time I'm concerned is you're below a 20, then you're messing something up. You're not doing something that we need you to do. That's it. We fix that, you're above that. We don't get into trying to make you super high. But if you do get super high doing the things that we do, then that's fine. And what are we really good at fixing? Infertility problems. So again, we're fixing the vitamin D situation in your body by doing the right things. We're not sitting there being lazy and saying your vitamin D level's low, take some rat poison. See the difference? So, studies in animal models found that severe hypervitaminosis D can reduce the total skeletal calcium store in embryos. You could give your kids osteoporosis before they're even born and may compromise the postnatal survival. You could kill your child. Kill your child, give them osteoporosis, poison them. Ladies, you must take responsibility for your toxicity. Now, the men contribute their part, of course. But once the sperm has done its job, like the guy's job is done. But if he contributed a broken toxic sperm with bad genetics that made a baby, it's still the guy's job is done. Ladies, you have 9 months of marinating that baby in your stuff. If it's toxic, they're marinated in toxins. That's just the way it is. So the mom is really, really important. Why are they trying to poison women so much? Because women go along with the crowd more and they can get them to do it more easily. What are they doing with men? They're making men think that they're fighting the system by taking ivermectin and methylene blue and azoles and progesterone, and they're ruining men that way. Based on the retrieved data, we solicit to be extremely selective in deciding for vitamin D supplementation since its excess may play a detrimental role in fertility. Okay. That's what we got there. So let me get back into here. Joe, you can stop sharing. I'm done there. All right. So now, no more super chats. I got to get through these super chats and then I got to go do my inner circle. So basically, let me just summarize. Okay. I help fix broken people from peating daily. It is an absolute disastrous dietary approach. I am honestly of the belief it is so bad. It's got to be like a psyop. It's got to be a psychological operation. It's got to be planned. There's no way that somebody could put together all those things I just went over, all being detrimental to fertility. There's no, that had to be put together. I don't doubt it one bit. Peters are all young, so they can get away with it. You don't find 50-year-old Peters. Or if you do, they look like what you would imagine somebody who eats lots of sugar and dairy and stuff would. Who only does low intensity exercise so they don't stress themselves. Like live in a bubble or something. I don't know. So basically, we are at, let's get into the super chats. Let me go find those, Joe. Okay, so no more super chats, please. Fernando says, thank you for the super chat, Fernando. Yo, Dr. G, I'm flushing with 200 milligrams buffered, but my teeth get a little sensitive. No other symptoms. Should I add more baking soda or use less niacin? Did Kelsey answer this? Kelsey, did you get to that question? Did you have a suggestion for that? Kelsey might have Kelsey has much more experience with managing niacin issues. So I just wanted to see if she said something about that. Where did it go? Where did that super chat go? Did it fall? Do we have so many chats on here that we ran out of 302 chats, I guess. So that's great. Anyway. Okay. If I don't know what you're buffering with. You may or may not be buffering with enough. So either, I mean, you could do something. I remember seeing this one TV show where the family was like, it was a weird family, but they were like drinking their soda with straws so they wouldn't get the acid on their teeth. If you're buffering enough, the acidity should be gone. That's the way that is. So if you're buffering it well enough, it's a neutral pH. I mean, if you're getting sensitivity in your teeth from like lemon juice or vinegar or something like that, then those are acidic and those you'll notice those. But properly buffered nicotinic acid is now sodium nicotinate or potassium nicotinate or magnesium nicotinate, and it's the pH is 7. So it should not be acidic and it should not be negatively affecting your teeth. if it's properly buffered. So first I would check that you're properly buffering it. Then you could try a different buffer. Maybe that would work better. Maybe I've been using magnesium mag carb personally. Because I just throw in a little extra magnesium. I get my potassium in a day. I get my sodium. So there's that. Then I would just say you could try, if those don't work, then you could try a smaller dose and see if that doesn't cause you any problems. If you start, I'm just going to throw this out there once in a while, very, very, very rarely. If you started taking vitamin K, very, 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 very rarely, some people get sensitive teeth from vitamin K. And I'm saying these could be coincidental. Like the timing may have been that they kind of came together, but you're thinking it's, unless you notice that you get it right after drinking the niacin, I'm just saying they might be connected. Most people, if they have sensitive teeth, it actually feels better after they get on vitamin K. So that there's always going to be, anything can cause anything. And there's always going to be paradoxical reactors to things. And there's sometimes once in a great while, somebody takes vitamin K and they're like, that made my teeth sensitive. And I go, okay, then stop taking it. That's what you do. So I would just either adjust your dose, Fernando, or adjust your buffering, try a different buffer, or if there's something else that you started maybe around the same time that might be causing it, or maybe there's other stuff you take at the same time as your niacin, I would look into those. Also take it with food. And then you could even take a buffer with it. Not a buffer, I mean a binder. Charcoal, psyllium, sun fiber, whatever you want to take with it to help soak up the bile that you're going to dump. That would be good. Okay. So Will is saying, thank you, Will, for your chat. Will says, thanks for all your work. Can't wait for your obesity stream. Yes, I will figure that out. Well, I did the weight loss and toxicity, but I need to do a whole one. I need to do one of my, that's probably going to be at least 2 parts to do an obesity, connecting it to all the things that I typically do. Yeah, so there's the one, the weight loss and toxicity, but that was more like organic as in, carbons, hydrogens, and oxygen toxins in the body fat, which again, we went over like those same, polychlorinated biphenyls, the PCBs, and the organochlorine pesticides. Like that's what they were talking about with weight loss and obesity. They were talking about these organic toxins being stored in the body fat. So if you're storing in your body fat, so are the cows. So is the chickens. So if you're trying to eat more animal fat, you're eating more of where they store their fat soluble toxins. You have to understand this. And if then you're eating fat soluble toxins with fat, so they're coming in with stuff ready to store them. And then if you eat lots of eggs, let's say, you're eating lots of choline, which is also necessary to make them storable. It's one reason we don't do eggs. One of the many reasons we don't do eggs. Okay. Hound Jog said, hi, Doc. Garrett, is pellagra curable or must it be constantly supplemented? Thank you. No, actually, well, let me tell you, from the great and powerful Kelsey herself, when she first came across my work and she started seeing what we were doing, she told me she thought in her head, she's like, he is fixing pellagra. So Kelsey came to this from a very niacin oriented direction because it helped her so much. And then I was coming at it from what I do, especially vitamin A toxicity. And we were seeing that these things could fix the same things. Actually, Kelsey and I have a little joke. Like it's like when we see some new condition or we're working on something and she'll be like, it's pellagra. And I'm like, okay. Like I'll joke and I'll be like, oh, it's pellagra again. Cause like everything is niacin deficiency. I'll be like, well, what about toxicity? And then she's like, well, we're both talking about the same thing. It's just kind of a little relationship thing, fun thing that we have. No. So what Kelsey was noticing was we were fixing pellagra. Like somebody might say we're fixing B12 deficiency, or somebody might say we're fixing folate deficiency. If you see the video on this channel about vitamin A depletes folate and B12. Okay. So if you get rid of the vitamin A toxicity, you're not depleting those things. If we're not having, so what does flush niacin do? It helps make NAD. You need NAD to run your detox pathways. So what if we reduce the overall toxicity coming in? You don't have to use as much NAD to run all your detox pathways, so you can conserve more nicotinic acid, so then you get less of a nicotinic acid or pellagra deficiency. I did a whole video on well, no, I haven't done pellagra yet, have I? I don't think so. Anyway, but so like the 4 Ds of pellagra, right? There's dermatitis, dementia, diarrhea, and death, which is kind of, as Kelsey said this once to me, she's like, why would they put death on there? Like, that's, once you're there, it's like, there's not much more you can do. You don't really need a symptom of death. Like, side effect of driving can be death. Well, that doesn't help anybody. You know? So diarrhea, dementia, and dermatitis. Well, what do we deal with here in vitamin A toxicity land? Skin problems, that's dermatitis. I've done a whole show, I think, on Alzheimer's, which is dementia and vitamin A toxicity and copper toxicity and all that other stuff. And then we have diarrhea. Well, diarrhea is one obvious expression of an excessive amount of toxic bile in the intestines. Okay. And we help people fix that. Especially if you got diarrhea, charcoal is your best friend. Definitely. That can help just shut that down. But you got to do enough. So that it's not, when I say diarrhea and charcoal, it's not one pill. First of all, pills suck for intestinal issues in terms of charcoal. Pills can get way through your intestinal system before they open up. So you miss the charcoal powder coming out and covering stuff and grabbing onto stuff and making stuff less toxic. So you want to, if you got digestive issues, powdered, activated, hardwood charcoal. I like Zen Principle. There's other places out there. I got a 2.5 pound bag of Zen Principle charcoal in my kitchen. Okay. But yeah, is it curable? Yeah, it can. Okay. Here's the idea. Does it have to be constantly supplemented? No. If you knew something that made your car run better, would you want to use it? Right? Like, you're like, well, I don't have to put that in my car. And somebody says, does it make your car run better? And you go, yeah. Well, then you get to decide. Do you want to? So pellagra is like outright deficiency state. So if you get to not your normal state, you're not deficient. Do you need to supplement anymore? No, not at all. And if you get less toxic, are you going to need to supplement? No. However, are we all being exposed to toxins every day? Is that going to end? No, it's not going to end. Would I like my body to have some extra energy around to process toxins? When Kelsey has a list, I don't remember how many toxins it was, but she'd been accumulating like all the toxins that NAD detoxes. It's a crazy like spreadsheet list. And I saw that and I was like, I really can't argue with that. Like when people talk about black seed oil protecting you against this and that, and I'm like, there's nothing compared to niacin, because black seed oil is not essential. It's actually a pesticide. So yeah, but is it curable? Yes, absolutely. I mean, okay, remember, was it no, that was berry. Sorry, I'm getting them confused. But meat and soluble fiber and carbs and stuff, that will fix most of these issues, because it's going to fix the toxicity and it's going to give your body what it needs. So do you have to take it forever? No. Let me put it this way. I know that if I don't take my zinc, I'm going to get zinc deficient on what I eat on a regular basis. Okay. So if I have to pay the price to live a higher quality and standard of life by taking, if I had to take, this is the question you can ask yourself. If all you had to do to maintain your good nutrition was to take a couple pills a day for the rest of your life, so you could avoid all pharmaceuticals, and so you can live a higher quality of life than everybody around you who doesn't know about this, would you do that? Is your goal to be on no pills for the philosophical reason of being on no pills? If that's fine, if that's what you want, that's fine. If you decide you want to do that, that's fine. Do you think the quality of the food in this world is getting better or worse? If you believe it's getting worse, what are you going to do when there's less and less zinc in it? Are you going to say, "Well, I just absolutely refuse to take a zinc pill. I insist on getting it from food." You can do that. It may not work out great. Will you need less zinc than everybody else? Yeah, because you're less toxic. Is it still going to be enough? I don't know. Probably not. So that's the question. That's the question we get into when people have like a philosophical thing of they don't want to take supplements, they refuse to take supplements. And if you're deficient in something and the food is deficient in it, how are you going to get it? That's where you're stuck. You've decided that your philosophy is more important than your physiology. Or as we say, your physiology doesn't care what your philosophy is. So your physiology being if you have a zinc deficiency and your philosophy is I will absolutely not take a supplement, then you're stuck. Your physiology doesn't care. It's just going to do whatever it does without enough zinc. Okay? So I think taking some niacin helps a lot. We're actually working on some other new things going on right now that Kelsey figured out. She's a smart girl. I love her. So let's go to Carol's. Carol, thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Hound Jog, for the super chat. We have how to stop bile from going up and causing nausea. The first thing that we do. Well, first you want to watch my GERD episode. Definitely go and watch the reflux and GERD episode. Simple things you can do, mechanical things. I mean, what is, obviously, it's bile coming up there. What can you use as a binder to get that down? You can do charcoal. You can do, so if you do charcoal is really good at binding to bile. You got to do enough. You got to shut that down. I mean, putting some food down with the charcoal helps to move it down. As long as you're not, well, first thing, you want to make sure you're not eating things that aggravate the bile reflux. Right? We remove the toxicity first. So if you know that there's foods that, let's say, you like, or that you suspect are causing the reflux, don't eat those. That should just make sense. Not overfilling your stomach would help. Because then as the food moves up, it's easier to go up into your esophagus. So soluble fiber, you have to figure out on your own because soluble fiber can both increase the bile dumping, but it's also it's adsorbing the bile, but it's also increasing bile dumping. So you have to figure out what amount of it works for you because too much can cause bile dumping, which could cause reflux. Some people, as Will stated, and I do believe this, and this was in the bile reflux show, some people have too much bile coming into their stomach and that's their main problem. Okay. Other people have bile and acid coming up into they have the acids being made in the stomach, right? But they have bile coming up there too. As I went over in that bile and reflux episode, the bile and the acid mixed together coming up is the worst. So if you want to, if the charcoal by itself is not working, you can do the like baking soda or potassium bicarbonate or magnesium carbonate. You can put some of that down there with the charcoal, like a 1/4 teaspoon to start out with. Do not go over a teaspoon a day of any of the carbonates, okay? But you could try putting a little bit of an alkalizing agent down there, and if you feel better, then you had acid in that reflux. So if that gives you relief, if the charcoal's not enough and you put some carbonates down there and it relieves you, then you have acid and bile, which is worse. It's more damaging. That's what the research shows. You can do things like raising the head of your bed a couple inches. You put some things under the bed legs on the head end. So you elevate it by like an inch even, an inch or 2 or 3. And that will help keep the contents of your stomach down in your stomach while you're sleeping. It's just gravity. Yeah, those are the big things. So we're not going to aggravate it. We're going to try to bind it. We're going to try to, make sure. Okay. So lactoferrin and flush niacin are very, very effective at increasing your bile production. So if you are not ready for those, when people come to me and they say, Doc, they're familiar with the program, they're like, Doc, I'm dumping too much bile. Like, I know it. I'm just, what's going on? One of the first things I do with them is I cut their niacin in half and I cut their lactoferrin in half. If you're only on one or the other, it's still the same thing. Cut it in half. See if it improves. If it improves, then you may need to go further. You may want to go further. Those are super potent at increasing your bile production. Part of you getting healthier will be your body will be increasing your bile production. But if it is still too toxic and you are not ready for it, then this will just cause you symptoms. So we reduce it. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. But the two biggest things we start with, the biggest bile dumpers, there's another one that we're working on that we found that is really potent. That is really helpful too. That's the problem. It's all these things that are helpful. They can be helpful. It's like running. Okay. It's like exercising, but let's just say running. Running in general, humans are supposed to be able to run. Somebody who's really, really sick, running might be way too much for them and they can't handle it. And then there's somebody who can run and they do fine. If somebody was like coming to me and they're like, well, I'm trying to get into running, Doc, and I run and my ankle hurts. Something's wrong. Let's back it up and not do that, right? So exercise is good for us, but you can also wreck yourself with exercise. You see how it can be both? So like flush niacin is good for your detox pathways, but it also, by speeding up ALDH, and I think Kelsey showed me that, so this is the crazy thing. We know that niacin is necessary to run ALDH, so it speeds it up. I can't remember if I'm pretty sure Kelsey showed me, but flush niacin is also a PGP inducer. So we start seeing these patterns of things that we've found help with detox that are inducers in a good way of these detox pathways. And then we try to avoid these things that we find have patterns of inhibiting these detox pathways. So, but as you get better at detoxing, you're going to make more bile. Remember, toxins slow down bile production, which means you get more toxic. But also when we start opening up the floodgates and we're getting you less toxic, you're going to start making more bile. Your bile is not clean yet. It's still toxic. It's going to leak into your system. So if you do things too fast, you're going to feel bad. If you try to run a marathon and you're not in shape for it, you're going to destroy yourself. Now then people go, well, will I eventually finish the marathon? Yeah. You could walk and crawl and whatever across the finish line and finish it. Are you a better person for doing that? How long is it going to take you to recover from that? This is why I tell people, like, if you're suffering on the detox and you're doing it to yourself and you know you're doing it to yourself and you're just like, I'm just going to push through. Enjoy the suffering, I guess. You don't have to. You don't have to make all the suffering. We're trying to improve your quality of life here. Why are you decreasing your quality of life by pushing the detox too hard? Just because you want to be done sooner? I don't understand. Wouldn't it be nice to like enjoy your quality of life along the way? Right? So that's what I'm after. Don't push detox too hard. So if there's anything, agitators, heat, stress, saunas, like sweating, sun, these things can all be agitators. They're all good for us, but they're all agitators. So you have to modulate them so that you get the right amount for you at this stage of your recovery. These things will get better as you get less toxic and more resilient. You'll be able to handle more stress. You'll be able to handle more sunlight and more heat and all this stuff. But if you're not there yet, just like if you start running slow, you start walking and then you start jogging and then you start running. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I couldn't run a mile before and now I can run a mile. Same thing with detox. I couldn't push detox before, but now I can. You have to get there first. You don't just go out and try to run the marathon or run the mile full pace when you haven't been doing it. Okay? So that's all I got. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you all enjoyed that. And I will see you all next time. Don't know what the topic of this next week, I think it's going to be a Q&A. I think it's going to be a Q&A. We'll figure that out. And it might not be on the normal day, because I'm actually going to be in Vegas at my daughter's dance competition. So I don't know what's going to happen with it. So I'm just giving you a heads up. Okay. Yeah, my website says Joe's putting up there, as Joe remembers, my promotion stuff that I'm supposed to do. nutritiondetective.com. That's the main website. You can go there. You can find our testing and consultation with our various health facilitators. You can find the supplements we make there. We try to minimize additives and fillers and all that crap. We make better stuff than just about anybody out there. Then there is also the Love Your Liver program. The Love Your Liver program it can be found on our main website. It can also be found at members.nutritiondetective.com. That is the do-it-yourself program. So you're not going into that program getting to ask me questions. It is a do-it-yourself program. There's like more than 2,000 people in there, all on the same journey, fixing themselves. You get to see people posting testimonials. You get a place to ask questions that is not the wasteland of social media negativity. You get people who are all aligned on the same path. And if somebody comes in there who's not aligned with it, well, they're not going to be there very much longer, because I have no time for that nonsense. I ain't got no time for that. And then the last thing is, if you want to find me, I mean, obviously you guys know about my YouTube here, youtube.com/nutrition detective. And then there's Twitter. I am NutriDetect, NutriDetect on Twitter. That's where you can find me. That's where I come up with new topics each day. And that's where I come up with a lot of these topics for the YouTube. So anyway, we're not done with the Infertility Psyop. We will be doing the Company of Wellness, and we will be covering their stuff on a future episode. So don't do that stuff. Emergency kits and all of this stuff. Anyway, we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye now.